Hello, this is Art Johnson with New World Communications. We're here in a new space here. We're actually in a 3D immersive environment from a company called VenueGen, which is pretty impressive. We have our PowerPoint little slideshow. Let me show you why we're excited about this. One of the things is we're excited because we can actually be inside of it. This is virtual architecture that you can meet inside of, and I can do full gestures here. I'm very passionate about what I do. I can, basically communicate very well by looking into the future here and looking into the horizon and listening to you, the customer, in terms of what you like. I can rotate around here so you can see me a little more closely. So you get the idea that this is a real robust environment. There are a number of different venues here. Let me talk about why it's called VenueGen. I'm going to go into our slideshow. We'll go to our full screen here. And this is one of the exciting ones. We're into blue ocean strategic thinking, and here's a whole blue ocean. Here's a whole sailboat, a virtual sailboat that we can take people on virtual cruises with just by logging in and cruising on this using this capability. We're in this meeting room right now. And this is a nice executive office virtual office environment. Here's a big auditorium where we can do virtual conferences and trade shows. And here's a nice little coffee house setting. And here's a virtual focus group. And here's a late show, big audience late show. And here is an interesting one. Here's a courtyard dinette where you could actually be at real world internet espresso houses eating sandwiches, but then having lunch virtually in a virtual courtyard outside. Really cute. And here's the venue. This is kind of what the sailing ship is. I'll send you a link if you haven't seen this already. We uploaded it to YouTube to get some feedback on it. But one of the things we can say is the experience is really, really fresh and different, and the marketplace has really changed a lot thanks to the whole explosion of the gaming environment and of Second Life, which is one of the front runners of meta universes. A lot of people have dove into that to create models, and this is driven. The internet gaming has created an impressive culture of people, and it's also, as an outcome, a lot of game code in venues, and I think this comes out of the gaming environment. But it's not just a game, and it really isn't a game. It's actually a really powerful, serious communications tool. And I say that because it's an outcome of what we call applied research. These folks have been studying what existing conferencing has been like, and then from the lessons learned, use this to create new value innovation. And this really does have a lot of value innovation. So the audio is different. There are two channels of audio, and it allows you what we call proximity audio, and there's ways to do head nods and to focus on people so they know you're really watching them and you're really engaging with each other through the body language, which is very, very interesting. And so, the question is, wow, people say, yeah, it's seriously considered, but what about this being an avatar? I'm enjoying it immensely. It seemed weird at first, but I was curious about the engagement. So rather than making a judgment, I decided to jump in and see what it's like to actually be hands-on. And I really like the control that I have of my body language and learning the mouse moves and the power of this. The jury is still out until folks like you and experience this yourself, what this engagement could be for you and what's in it for you. But we think it could be a whole new blue ocean of uncontested market space, especially when you compare it with physical world meetings. They're the greatest, but they're expensive. And the physical distance is cost prohibitive. The social distance is tough with people around, across the United States. The transportation, the architecture, all kinds of architecture. The architecture of the roads, it's all expensive. It takes a lot of time. There's a huge carbon footprint. There are health issues involved. There are survival of the species issues, including ourselves in that. There are some real limits to a physical world mindset, which we don't really know what those limits are until we see this stuff. We say, oh my goodness, there's zero carbon footprint here. We can get there and get back instantly. So, but anyway, that's the physical world meeting. And the conference call is really where the start is. Many of you are doing this, but they suck because you can't tell who's speaking. You don't know where they're located. Your brain gets tired. 30% of your brain is just used to just try to figure out that. So that's why these conference calls are really tiring, and especially when someone hogs the floor. When every time you phone in and you just there's no you're not empowered to look at them like in a real meeting to shut them up or do something. So you just have to grin and bear it. It sucks big time. So there's not much there's no body language. You can't focus. There's no subtle what we call focus voting, no empowerment and audio fatigue. Then you have anger, frustration, and disengagement. So they really don't work that well. Telepresence is a help, but they are expensive. They are companies like Cisco, Tandberg, and Polycom are all doing them, but they're a large corporate thing. But access is limited. Transportation is still a challenge. The architecture is really a challenge. It's very cost prohibitive, and it doesn't scale well. And the kind of web conferencing that you're familiar with, like WebEx and GoToMeeting, that's what most people know of at least, does screen sharing and PowerPoint and VoiceOver, but people just don't feel like it's that close to a physical world meeting. There's not that focus and the body language cues that make the nuances of communication so important. And people don't feel empowered. They feel like their power is being taken away, which is not good in the corporate setting. They won't do this if you feel like you're taking their power away. And the presence is challenging. The format's pretty much the same. And video conferencing is another way, using multiple webcams. That does some presence, but it's jerky. And the focus is not on each other really. You can't really see people in a group that well. And it doesn't scale well, and you can't see the gestures. Here's one little guy, you can see this on his thumb, but there's not much gesturing. There's not as much immersion as you see is what I'm doing here. This is what we are doing most of our work with. Web conferencing is really, really going to be a great thing for a lot of people, and we use the very best. This is iLink, green metered web conferencing. And we really add a lot of presence and engagement by streaming real video, we produce video for it. This little window can be a still image of us or an actual live webcam. We can have multiple webcams up across here, at least for the presenters. Engagement of the audience is still a little bit of a challenge here, but it's the best thing next to 3D immersion. And so it really stands up. Here's the 3D immersion. This comes of a study that the CEO David Gardner wrote. But he really, in looking at this, 3D immersion holds up really good in the engagement area, real close to physical meetings here. But they're a lot more practical and efficient than doing physical world meetings because of the transportation and time costs considerations and scaling and all that kind of stuff. And, if you look at 3D immersions, they say compared to web conferencing, the engagement is better because you feel like you're actually in the room. And I felt like I was. I feel like I am right now. So anyway, that's it on that. So I'll just do that. So I want to thank you so much. I'm trying to stay within the window of 10 minutes so I can get this up on YouTube without having to go through a whole bunch of conniptions here. So I really want to thank you. Let's really seize this opportunity, and I really think that this is going to be a great experience for many of us. So I think this is going to be just lovely. So thank you so much.